Welcome again, everyone, to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. I'm Roger,
Gene.
I'm Jamey.
and Jamey's here
Jamie's
with us.
joining us.
Yeah, he's here with us as well today because we're talking about, well, and actually, we're talking about Prey today, and I should go and just give a spoiler warning right now, and the only reason I'm doing that.
Well, yeah, definitely watch the movie before listening to this. We're all about the spoilers. We're talking about the movie. in
Right.
detail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't usually give a warning because most of the time, like last week, we talked about a movie that was 50 years old, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a spoiler warning for that movie because you better have seen it already.
Yeah. But this movie's like 2 weeks old.
Well, it came out in August,
okay,
on streaming.
Very modern.
Maybe
so-
like 4 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. So it's definitely, I'm going to give you that spoiler warning, but we're talking about Prey, currently streaming on Hulu, and I don't know, is it on other platforms?
I think
Gene?
it's just. I think
It's just
I
Hulu.
think Hulu made it, so it's going to be on Hulu forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's just get right into it. Gene, initial thoughts on Prey?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's cool. The star, the protagonist, I believe this movie is very much a. It fits our definition of horror for sure, but I would almost call this movie like a coming of age movie, and the protagonist is Naru, Amber Mid-Thunder, and one of my favorite movies, I have to confess, is not a horror movie. It's called Hell or High Water, and Amber Mid-Thunder was in that one as well. So just a little shout out to Hell or High Water. But yeah, it's definitely a coming of age movie for sure. It's about Naru, and in a way, it's the movie's called Predator, or maybe think about the other movie. The movie's called Prey. What am I saying? The movie's called Prey, but of course, there's the Predator character, and it makes you think about the Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator movie. But in a way, this movie is really not so much about the Predator. It's really about Amber Mid-Thunder or Naru.
Well,
Yeah.
Probably it was more about the predator in the first one because the title is Predator, but this one's Prey, and then it's like the predator's hunting the prey. You know? I don't know.
Yeah, in a way, but as the movie goes along, like who is really the prey? So I think it's the question,
Yeah.
because we tend to think that, that predator creature, of course everything's prey to him, but maybe not.
Well, and I like, Jamie, I like your idea about the title, where the original one was called Predator because it was about the Predator just taking out Arnold Schwarzenegger and his team, and this one's Prey. I do like that concept that you have there of that title.
Yeah.
But really, it's the thing that surprised me most about Prey, and I'm not going to talk too much about the plot right at this second, but why wasn't this thing released at the theater? The cinematography is beautiful.
Great.
There's
It is
sweeping,
amazing.
sweeping
Great.
landscape shots, and the night scenes when they're going through the forest with the fire, the torches. And stuff. Just amazing.
And that whole fight scene with the burned trees.
Yes, exactly. And just a real surprise to me that they wouldn't have given this a theatrical shot. Any idea why that maybe went that way?
I don't know. It
Because
seems like
Hulu's weird and they just went on their streaming service. They don't want anybody else to see it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the intricacies of the movie distribution, but if they financed it, surely it helps their streaming service for sure. To put up such a quality product. But yeah, could have been a theatrical release. I mean, have I gone to movies and seen movies that were just like Prey in the movie theater? Sitting there with my popcorn and stuff. Yeah, this easily could have been released, and
And it would have been even better than on like
and it would have been
smaller
better
TV.
with a huge screen with big sound. Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been better.
Yeah, because I just really liked the cinematography. I really liked the score as well, which really heightened a lot of
Right.
the tension and the action scenes and things like that. And really, Gene, let's talk a little bit about, because this movie seems to be a little different than most of the films that we've done. And you always like to talk about the elements of horror.
Yes.
How does this one fit in with that?
Well, I guess I have two elements of horror. One is that it's somehow in watching the movie, the movie makes you feel uncomfortable about yourself, or it makes about your decisions in life. So That's one, and then two is somehow that horror is some kind of like abstraction or gross disfigurement of the human form or of nature. So I think Prey falls into kind of maybe the horror kind of on the second aspect.
Yeah, because
You know,
definitely
because-
how the predator kills the guys. He kills all
Right,
the
right,
people.
and then how the predator even looks, because it's definitely
Mhm.
humanoid form, but his whole
He's definitely not human because he
He's-
has those weird mandibles on his
right,
mouth.
right, his face is very different, and his big hands, claws, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely humanoid, but it's definitely an abstraction of of the human form. But I think, Roger, I agree with you, the cinematography, and I just wrote down in my notes as like one of the reasons I really like this movie is it's like really artistic. There's like even the characters are always wearing paint on their faces, which I don't think is very realistic.
Because I think that's just for war.
Yeah,
Like-
when they're doing some maybe a celebration or going off to some
Battle.
conflict, yeah. But here that they're wearing it all the time, but in a way that was kind of cool because it differentiated the character, gave the characters like more personality, or accentuated their personality. Yeah, and just the colors, like Naru has this medicine little pouch and it was these bright yellow feathers. Just the really huge vistas in the credits. It says it's filmed in Alberta, Canada. So huge, magnificent vistas, and just like even the colors of like the predator's blood really is very colorful. Really stands out. So this movie it's very colorful. It's very artistically well done.
Well, and the
I give
director,
it props for that.
yeah, and much like Robert Eggers with The Witch, the director chose to use natural light as much as possible.
Right,
And that really makes it a realistic look as well. So there's popping color, of course, but it's also like, oh yeah, that forest scene, that looks like a real forest. It's
Right.
not overly saturated with green like
Right,
some,
right.
some directors want to do and really pump up the color. And so I really appreciated that. But also about the horror aspect of it, I looked at this film, I kind of put it in the Aliens realm where it's kind of an action horror kind of thing.
Yep.
But Gene, you're right, it's definitely a coming of age type picture. I mean, Naru, is that how they pronounce her
It's
name?
Naru.
Naru, is a female, and it's very much centered on her kind of overcoming her role, her
Yeah,
expected
definitely
role within the tribe.
Definitely the
right?
hero's journey for sure.
But the other aspect of horror that I think is present here is I was looking at this as also this coming encroachment on native land, right? Because you have this outsider entering the land, the native land, which in this case is the predator.
Right.
But then later in the film, she also stumbles across the French,
French
hunters
trappers and hunters that come in. So there's also this horror of, yeah, your community is going to be a lot different really soon, and can you prevent that from happening?
Not really, because they only have like bows and arrows and a few daggers.
Right. That's a great point. Because the French are just as much as aliens as the predator is. Right.
And there's
they're just as destructive
right.
and just careless of what they destroy.
Right, because
Or
you come to this
What
scene
they
where
wreck.
Naru runs across all of those dead buffalo. They're all
Right.
skinned. And at first, it's like, oh man, the predator just super sucks. He's just
Yeah.
really going to
And
town
then,
here.
And then she finds a cigarette, then boom,
Right.
it's
You
it's
realize-
people from Europe.
Yep, it's
Right,
the
right.
French
It's
guys
other humans.
just doing that.
Well, it could have been like the Spain or like I don't know,
Spaniards.
and other people.
Well, they
Oh.
they definitely were talking French.
French,
so-
Well,
yeah.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I just liked that where it was touching on some of the struggles of Native American people subtly, I guess, is like, yeah, you've got this predator here, but then you also have the
Right.
coming
They're both invaders.
Europeans. You're right, both
Right.
invaders.
That's a
and-
great point.
And going from that. But
Oh, and I really liked how they spoke in French. They didn't tell you what they were saying.
I
Like
know.
there weren't any subtitles, so you just had to guess what they were doing by their actions.
I really like that too. That's a great point. Is that they easily could have thrown up subtitles,
Mhm.
but in a way, it would have been a distraction. And I guess why subtitle them? Because
you don't really care about the French people.
No, you don't, and you kind of know what's going to happen to them.
And they're gonna die.
They're all gonna get
Well, and I think too that scene, the reason they didn't want to subtitle anything is you were supposed to be the Naru character there in the cage, and you're just hearing these people that you
Never
don't know the
heard of
language and
before.
all that. I did think it was interesting how the director's like, well, we have to have some knowledge of what's happening here. So they have the one guy who's like, oh, I can speak all sorts of languages, so I can
Right,
communicate
right.
with you,
Yeah.
just to kind of give you an idea that, yes, the French guys were aware that this predator was cruising around somewhere and they wanted Naru's
and they
help
set
there.
kind of a rather ingenious trap for him, the predator.
And they set them. They set them by a tree, and then boom, and yeah, the predator comes and they try to trap him, but no, it don't work.
Didn't
Well,
work, yeah.
I think I actually was surprised at how effective their trap was because they had the predator on the ground. They could have just took that dude out. They just
And they did.
delayed a little
and they
bit.
did, but
Yeah, the predator was just too strong and too fast for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a way, I thought this movie was, you could draw really interesting parallels because if you think of this as a coming of age movie. Well, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit and maybe talk a tiny little bit about maybe the first Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator movie, because at the very beginning of that movie, it seems like there's a spaceship going through space, and the spaceship kind of comes near Earth, and then like a small capsule comes off, and that capsule goes to Earth.
and that's the wait.
And that's-
and that's the predator coming down to Earth, and yeah, and then that's how you
but-
started out.
But it seems almost as if they're dropping him off, or they're exiling him there. It's like because they're the other ship, like call it the mothership, whatever you want, but it doesn't make any attempt to orbit. It just seems like it zoomed by Earth, dropped this guy off, and it just continued on. So like they're not coming back. They're dropping this guy off. It's like he's exiled.
He probably messed up. Or something.
Punishment. So you're going to do whatever you do on this planet, but you're on your own like this. But this movie, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Jamey, like dropping him off, in school. We drive to school.
Yeah, because the ship
then,
it went
yeah,
down into orbit, and then it
The
it
ship
went
went-
near like a little cliff, and then they just opened. He left out, and then they went off.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
it's like the ship dropped him off, kind of like, oh, look, you have this journey, or you have a purpose here. We're gonna drop you off. You're
And
gonna
we're
do
gonna
your
come back in,
thing,
like, 2
and we're
days.
gonna come back. So it's very interesting, and if you think again, going back to what I said, is that if Naru is a coming of age movie, you can really make some parallels. And it's interesting if you think about movies like deeply and like write notes as you're watching the movie, because it seemed like in a way there are really parallels between Naru and the predator creature, because it seems like clearly Naru is she's young, she needs to do this ceremony, this katmeya, go on this big hunt, but it seems that also the predator has to go on a katmeya too. So it seems like also the predator is coming of age as well. So he was dropped off by his parents,
Or it's just like the
Yeah.
leaders. Like I wonder if they're like a
The
clan,
leaders, right,
type thing. So it could be
and-
like the chief leaders.
and he needs to do this thing, and it just seems like if you're watching the movie that the predator seems like he's unexperienced and is unsure of himself, like he kills a rattlesnake and then a wolf and a bear. I mean, why would you do that? Why would you kill a snake? I mean,
Well,
it-
he's what I thought of that is
Yeah.
that he's going up the food chain.
yeah, to me it seems like he's young and is inexperienced, and so he's just trying to, right? He's starting small and gaining confidence and getting to bigger animals, more aggressive things, and seeing what he can accomplish. But he doesn't go straight to, because he knows humans are there, but he doesn't go for them first. So it's like his building his confidence. It's like his himself is young. And another reason leads to another reason why I really like this movie is the characters are super likable. You just really like the characters. Naru, her brother, Atabe, you really like them. You like the the characteristics of the tribe. It seems like they're well functioned. They almost operate as like a military unit. They're just organized, and they got it together.
Well, and
Yeah.
well, some of the other people in the tribe, like the people that were hunting with them, weren't too nice, and they weren't very likable. But
Well, I thought they were just trying to
yeah,
keep their roles, where
yeah,
it's
and
like,
that's true. But yeah,
Yeah, so that's another reason why it's really a great movie, because you gotta like the characters, and in a way, it's like even the Predator. If you see it as a coming of age, in a way, you kind of like him too. I mean, you're not rooting for him,
but
but you see how his journey too, and you can kind of see his on his path.
I do like how they set up very early on that the predator, because like the scene you were talking about with the snake, there's a sequence there where the ant or whatever is crawling up his leg, and then a mouse comes, grabs
eats
that,
and then the snake
and then the
bites
snake
that,
gets the mouse.
and then the predator gets the snake.
And so I liked how it set up that he's really focused on things that are a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the movie is all about Naru trying to prove herself to her
Right.
community.
She is.
And there's a great scene later on where she discovers that she gets her leg. There's this great action sequence where the predator is killing a lot of her tribe.
Right.
She's fleeing through the underbrush. She gets her leg caught in one of the French people's traps.
Like
Right.
animal traps.
Yeah,
Right.
and then the predator comes up to her and ends up not just straight up killing her. And she discovers later that it's because the predator does not see her as a threat. And I really liked how they set that up with the snake scene early on.
Because it didn't seem like a threat at first because he didn't kill it at first.
Right.
But once it started lunging at his leg, that's when he stabbed it with his wrist blades.
Right, but I just like how, heck, he'll let an ant crawl over him. He'll let this mouse do this other thing because they're not threats to him, but the snake was. And then when she realizes that she is not seen as a threat, there's a really good kind of close-up on her face. She has this kind of realization that, oh, man, yeah, he sees me as not a threat. And, of course, she ends up being the biggest threat to him in the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. I think the predator, he sees that she's in the trap, and he grabs the chain and he picks up the chain. It's like he's a little bewildered by what's this thing, and then the French guys show up, and then the attention shifts to the
French
To the
guys being
French.
the enemies, and then the predator just leaves.
right, and definitely they have guns, and it leads to the French
Well, he definitely
sequence of the
the
movie.
predator definitely saw the French as like enemies, but
Right.
he didn't think he could take them all out when they're like all huddled together. Maybe.
Oh, I think he was...
Well, I think he would have, but like maybe he wanted to study them.
Right, I think part of it is observing, right? That's the whole heat vision of the predator, and he's doing his little triangle, check out things and all that. There's a great scene where Naru gets we're forcibly going to take you back to the camp because you shouldn't be out here hunting on your own for anything, really. And so then the predator's looking at that group with his heat vision, and what does that little triangle focus on? It focuses on the blade of that spear. So he now knows that, okay, these
Right.
guys could be a threat, so now I'm going to take them on and see if I'm stronger than them now,
And
which, of
he
course,
was.
he slaughters them all. But
Yeah.
And it was a great action sequence of him just like getting all those guys. You get to see all his gear,
French
his
guys.
tech. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely the predator kind of nerds out on his technology, right?
Yes, he does.
He really does.
Yeah.
Because he uses like a trap where it's like it's like a net and then it encloses,
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a pretty-
that guy's cut into a bunch of 1,000 pieces.
and then he uses a bear trap. He throws a bear trap at another guy.
Well, and that I
Yeah,
liked
yeah,
that where
yeah.
he was utilizing
Like the
human
area.
human technology against us, right? He
Yeah, he's
picked
just
up
using
that trap.
he's using his surrounding to help him in the battle.
Right, and it's just
Yeah.
showing off his just immense physicality as well.
And skills, just with everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about this movie is it's got a good backstory here with Naru kind of trying to overcome I'm going to call it oppression. It's not exactly oppression, but of her, her role in the community and what she really wants her role to be, with really cool action, bloody set pieces of alien action. So it's kind of an interesting little film how it does that.
Yeah, Nauru definitely wants to be recognized as a hunter, but she gets help from her brother, and again, it's why the movie works is you like these characters, you really like the brother, because the brother supports her in her quest. They're going out hunting the lion, and his fellow warriors are completely dismissive of Nauru, but Tabi tells them that, hey, she needs to be here because she's a healer and she's a tracker. So she needs to be here, and they listen to him.
He defends her.
Yeah, he defends her very good. Yeah.
Right, and it's how often do we not see that in these types of movies where everyone is against the one character and they have to overcome. So you're right, Gene. It was nice to see that, no, these are real people, behaving normally, right? It's like, okay, here's our roles, but then here's the big brother saying, no, she's coming with us, and he's the big war chief or war hunter, whatever the title is there.
Right.
And so they just, oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was war chief, I think.
Yeah. But, and then, the other thing about the character of Naru is, she's multi-talented. She's a healer. She understands how the natural herbs and medicines work, and certainly is able to track things. And then, she's learning to be trying to be a hunter. Doesn't go out exactly the way she wanted initially, because she has this hatchet that her grandfather had passed down to her, and the whole idea was that this was going to help you go with the other women and get the herbs you need and cut all that. But she sharpens that thing up, and it's like, no,
Use
this
it as a
is
weapon.
going to be my hunting axe. And there's a great scene where she keeps trying to, and I should mention, I'm kind of stumbling over my words, but I should mention the dog. And here's a big spoiler for you. The second I saw that dog and I realized that Naru has this really cool dog and they're like buddies and they go everywhere.
Very well trained.
All this really trained dog, well trained, just a cool dog. What was the first thought that went through my mind? Oh, great, another dog in a movie that we're going to get to watch be killed, and then that's going to drive the Naru character to, avenge the dog, right?
Yeah, and I liked how they set that up, but no, it didn't happen.
Right, and then
Like
spoilers,
John Wick
it
character.
doesn't happen. The dog, lives.
just-
And so I'm like, the director, I think is it John Trachtenberg?
It's a fun little trap.
John
It's a
Trachtenberg.
fun little trap.
And I'm just like, thank you for doing that. Here's a cool dog that, is alive at the end of the movie. And I was just like, this is great. Thank you so much,
It definitely
Yeah,
it definitely like trapped the people who have seen millions of movies and know that plot very well.
No, I just thought for sure, and then there was the scene where the bear shows up and I'm like, here's probably where the dog's going to buy it. And then later it's like, the predator shows up. Here comes the dog running to bite him. And here's where it's going to happen.
He was almost killed in the French game.
Right, yeah. The French have got him tied up. They're going to kill him. And, hey, the dog's alive at the end.
He's alive and
yay.
happy.
Yeah. But, I just think there's a lot of parallels between, again, the movies Prey, but who is really the prey? And I think towards the latter part of the movie, I think even the filmmakers, they show parallelism between Nauru and the Predator, because there's a part where the Predator, like Jamey was saying, he kills all the French people, but then she goes back and talking about the dog. She goes back to get her dog, and then what does she do when she's there? She ends up fighting the French. And she kills like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, I think
she
there was
just
4 of
totally
them.
just kills them.
It was John Wick style.
Yeah. It's
Well,
just to save her dog. And so,
if you've seen that movie,
yeah, we've all seen that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's like, the Predator's killing the French and she's killing the French. And then later on after the battle, there's a cutscene of where the Predator is healing himself. And so it looks like he's putting super glue in, maybe, healing a deep cut, and then at the same time Naru is healing herself too in a very similar fashion.
So they're kind of like being the same character.
Yeah, in a way, I think they're the director's going out of his way to show that they're very much doing the same thing, that they're almost embodying the same roles at the same time. They both have a common outcome or a common goal. So yeah. So I think that's prey. It's just you just have to think about like who's the true hunter here.
Well, and that
Yeah.
also backs up your point of the predator being a young person being dropped off to prove themselves, and then
Right.
here's Naru trying to prove herself as well.
Yeah, because it seemed also as that in the battle with the French in the scene where Tabe dies, is that Tabe attacks the predator and knocks his helmet off, and it seems like he becomes a little disorientated and he's making very illogical decisions. Like he should know that his device that shoots those metal arrows,
Goes back into where the dot is that his
Right.
helmet points.
right. It's targeted at where the
Where the-
lasers point. Right.
Yeah. But also I noticed the thing is that it goes far enough before it starts turning to the point to like reach the people.
Yeah, but his blindly shooting at Tabe with his arrows, even though that device is pointed somewhere else. So it seems it reeks a little bit of desperation there because, or inexperience because he is desperate. I have this weapon. I got to use it. And I'm going to try to get this guy. But it's not. He's using it in a way it's not designed for, and he misses all those shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then she notices all that, and then she ends up turning that weapon against him.
Because she
Right.
Later.
Yeah, she places it up against a rock that's pointed like kind of directly at his head. Yeah, and then he fires the gun, then boom, he's dead.
Well, but I
Yeah.
think that scene also kind of backs up what I was saying a little bit earlier with the predator was using the French people's weaponry against them, like the bear trap when he threw it on the guy.
Right.
And now here Naru is ultimately doing the same thing, is, I'm going to use your technology against you.
Right.
And she also acquired the French technology when she was taught how to load and fire a gun, which
Yeah,
she
the
also
pistol.
uses. So
Right.
she goes away from using her own technology and uses the enemies against them. And
Hey.
I liked that.
Yeah, you can bring that point up. Does the predator use maybe some stuff from the earth? I mean, he picks up the trap and throws it. That's kind of just shows that he can throw well. So, but yeah. So Nauru definitely has advantages over the predator. I think towards the end, towards the climactic battle, she has the clear advantage. She's more clear thinking. She's put a plan in motion to trap the predator creature, and at that point in the movie, he's really just in pursuit. He's just it doesn't seem like he has any plan at all. He's just chasing her. Yeah. So I think by that point in the movie, the prey is flipped.
Right.
It's clearly flipped, and the prey is now the predator.
Yes, I would
And I
agree.
think in a way
definitely.
he kind of knows it because he's bleeding like crazy, and then he just
Well,
yeah.
she takes
Well,
one of his arms off, too.
She takes one of his arms off. My gosh.
And also, it seems like a thing that Naru did better than the predator a little bit was use like the actual like earth, like the dirt and stuff, because she used the mud pit to trap the predator. But the predator never used like any like stuff from the ground or trees. Seems like.
Right. Yep.
So did you guys pick up on the one major callback to the original Predator?
There were references to other movies for sure, like when the buffalo. There's definitely a reference to A Dance with Wolves. The quicksand in a way is a reference to Mel Gibson's Apocalypto. There's a big sequence in there with quicksand. But the reference to the heat-seeking vision.
Well,
is
no, that's just standard Predator.
Yeah, that's standard.
So there's a specific.
so tell us, Roger, what is
specific
that?
specific line of dialogue that I just loved that the director put in.
Oh, was it that if it bleeds, we can kill it?
Oh, yes,
Exact
yes.
line from Predator.
From the first one.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so it was nice that to me was a nice callback to have in there. Was
Right.
just because of course they're trying to figure out if Naru is basically saying I don't think we can kill this thing.
And the
then
brother helps
brother's
her
like,
gain confidence. If
you know?
it bleeds, we can kill it.
yeah, if it
Yeah.
bleeds, we can kill it. So
Yeah,
that
good
was
job, Reg.
nice. But anything else we need to talk about with Prey?
I don't know. It's a great movie. It's like we have Hulu. I've already seen it a few times. I really like it. Yeah, the movie it just works.
I think
But-
the ending credits was amazing. How they did the whole like how they did the whole story in like these weird like cave paintings.
They actually hired native artists to do those end title screens
Oh.
with the pictures.
Oh.
So that's
Oh, cool.
traditionally accurate drawings.
That's very cool. But yeah, it's just like I enjoy the end credits as well because they kind of summarize the whole movie with the end credits.
Right.
And then of course at the end they give a little
tie into the future because we see the ships coming back to the campsite.
right, and not just one ship.
It's
but
like 3.
You see 3, so it's like like again the analogy is like the parents dropped him off,
And now they're coming back with like
and they said, "Well, we'll be back in a month to come get you, and you can tell me and show us your trophies and tell us your great tale." And so they're
and
coming back.
it seems that or maybe like they knew that he died maybe, so that's why there's 3 of them instead of just 1.
It could be a little speculation for sure. I don't know.
Yeah,
If-
I don't know.
Yeah, because the movie doesn't give us any clues that the predator is communicating with anyone else like on his race.
Yeah.
It's just him.
Yeah. No, you're on your own. It's almost like a rite of passage kind of thing
Right, you're on your
for the
own.
predator.
Right.
Yeah, I think this movie is definitely worth your time. I think the message of the film, and we've kind of touched on it here, it's good for women to take a look at if you've got a daughter that's into horror a little bit and can handle stuff like this. This I kind of equate with a movie like maybe Brave or something like that, where it's a female character who's kind of in a oppressive type situation, overcoming that and positive qualities, and there's really nothing offensive in this film.
No. Well, some.
I mean, some gore, of course.
There's
Well, yeah,
some
of
gore.
course,
Definitely
gore.
some gore. There's a little. There's
You
some
know.
decapitation there.
But as far as the message the
Wait.
movie is putting
And
across,
there's,
it's,
there's decapitation.
well,
Jamie,
yeah.
did you miss the
Did you
decapitations?
miss Well, at the end.
Oh right, yeah, I think I remember.
Yeah, of course you remember. At the end, she brings
The head.
she brings the dude's head.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
But Jamie, any final thoughts on Prey?
Well, I found it really enjoyable. It was much better than I thought it would be, and I really like it even better than the original Predator, which is
Oh,
is kinda
well,
surprising.
okay. So here's a rule, right? Because there's how many Predator sequels are there? What do we
There's
have?
like- there's like
Predator
20.
2,
There's
then
a lot of
there's
them.
Alien versus Predator.
yeah,
Alien versus-
they just went
blah, blah,
crazy.
blah. So, in order to tell if a sequel is better than the original, the first thing you have to do with the sequel is go, is Arnold Schwarzenegger in it? If the answer is no, it's clearly not better than the original one. So sorry, buddy. Prey is very good. I would definitely say it's probably the second best Predator film after the first one. But Gene, what are your thoughts? Where do you put this in the ranking?
In the hierarchy there. I got to go with Jamie. I think it's a little more thoughtful. It's a little more introspective, than the original. Because the original is kind of all about Schwarzenegger.
Well, and Jesse the Body Ventura.
And Jesse the Body Ventura, and again that movie has great characters too.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
everyone's great. I like everyone
know?
in the original Predator. Everyone was cool.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
You know,
Yeah,
you were
but I-
talking to me about, are there any other movies which is just all guys? Are there any girls in Predator?
Oh, there are. There's The Prisoner.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
they
Yeah,
captured the
forgot
prisoner.
about that one.
Yeah. But no, it's a great movie. It's definitely a must see for sure. It's
Yeah.
it's good. It's maybe we'll call it horror light because it doesn't give that uncomfortable feeling of watching it that I think. I kind of want to use the phrase true horror, but that's not a good phrase. But horror on some level should make you feel uncomfortable, but this movie doesn't do that. But it's great entertainment nevertheless. It's a solid recommend.
Yeah, it's definitely a winner. Next week, what are we doing next week, Gene? We never seem to figure this one out.
The
Are we-
Watcher.
Okay.
The Watcher.
So,
Yeah, I think we've decided for just a little bit we're gonna review some very modern movies. I think this is one of the reasons why we reviewed this. It's widely accessible. It's very modern. It's just a few months old. The same thing with The Watcher. It's very modern. It's only been out a few months. So, but yeah, definitely in that movie next week is definitely more horror for sure.
Okay, well, good.
Thriller / horror, yeah.
Well, great. Well,
And then the preview, and then maybe the following week we were thinking back to the classic.
and what classic were you thinking we were going to do?
Yeah, Jamie, you're not going to this one. But
Yeah, I probably won't be here next
the-
week or the week after that.
No, you're not. The Texas.
Ah,
Chainsaw
right. Good.
Massacre.
So finally we'll get to some meat and bones and
Yes.
tension and all that. So Texas Chainsaw in 2 weeks. But see, now you've got the audience concerned because maybe they want Texas Chainsaw next week now.
Nah, The Witcher's pretty
But
good.
anyway, no, we'll do Watcher next week.
Watcher. I said
and
Witcher.
then
Watcher.
Chainsaw after that, unless Gene chickens out. But we'll see. So hey,
I
thanks.
won't chicken out.
Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you the next time. Bye
Yes, see you
bye.
later.
Later.